How's it going, you guys? Nathaniel here. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can be leveling up your armoring skill from level 0 all the way up to 200 and the different steps you need to take to do that. I want to make a couple key notes. If you are wondering where you can go and get your resources and stuff needed to get some of this, I will leave some of the main resources you need to gather at the end of the video. So if you want to go and check that out, you can skip all the way to that to find your resources. Another note is I wanted to make sure that the majority of this stuff can be done, depending on your server and or what is easier for you to gather, to buy, whatever you can do. So there will be, starting from 50 all the way to 200, there will be two versions or two items that you can choose between either something that's like silk or satin, your weaving skill, and or the leather working skill. So, depending on if you have a high enough skill to be able to craft the material, and or whatever one is easier for you to gather in general. So I want to make that as a note. Another thing is I am a lower level, so I'm not all the way up at 200. And my main thing is I wanted to make sure that I'm going in and watching videos and seeing what the people recommend to see, like, okay, I agree with that, whatever. And then I get onto the game and then I go through and I get my notebook out and I start going through the different resources and stuff like that to see if I personally agree with other people's thoughts and what they personally recommend. And then if I find it's like, okay, I like that one, or I don't like this one, whatever, then if I agree, then that's when I start making the video. And so here we are. So I just want to make a few of those because I know people look at my level and like, oh, how dare you? And I just want to make sure that, I'm learning as well as I'm figuring it out for myself, if I personally agree with different things. So without further delay, let's get into it. You're like, Nate, we don't care. We just want to see the video. I get it. Let's go. So we'll jump right into it. All right. So starting off from 0 all the way to 50. This one is pretty darn simple. The main thing we want to focus on is that we keep a lot of our metals low because we are going to be using the metals a lot in the later tier things. So like from 50 all the way up to 200, we're going to be using a bunch of different metals. So we want to make sure we're using our metal very sparingly, if that makes sense. So we're going to be focusing first on the linen shirt. This one's not too hard. Getting the fiber and stuff like that is pretty easy, and the leather and whatnot. But this is why we picked this instead of going to the armoring station or the other station. The linen or the outfitting station is relatively easy, and we'll actually be spending the majority of our time in the outfitting station for all of our different crafting things. Because like I said, we want to kind of keep the metal costs down low, and then getting the linen or fiber and stuff like that is pretty easy to gather. So this is what we'll be doing from level 0 all the way up to 50 is the linen shirt. All right, now that we have gotten all the way up to level 50, this is when we need to make our next step. So level 50 all the way to 100, we have two options. It's going to be depending on, server, if you can gather different resources, or the skill level you have in leatherworking or the weaving. So we'll have two options. The first one we're going to do is either going to be the satin gloves. So if you have a higher level skill for the weaving and stuff like that, and you can make these, perfect. You can either do this, or you can do the rugged leather gloves. So if we go down to find them, if I can find them, where are you? There. This is so much harder than it needed to be, but here it is. We'll either do that. So it'll either be the rugged leather gloves or the satin gloves. And like I said, it just depends on what's easier for you to gather in your server and or which skill you have higher. So these are going to be our two main focuses from level 50 all the way up to 100. Now, once you hit 100 and you've completed all of the steps before, now you'll go from 100 all the way up to 150. This is going to be our next step. So like again, it's going to be like this for the next this one and the next one as well. It just depends on server what you can gather and different stuff like that and what's easier for you to do. So for level 100 all the way up to 150, we're going to either be doing the layered leather gloves, which is one of my personal favorites ones, because for me, like, I can get these resources a lot easier than the weaving and stuff like that, because I could just go get, iron, or I can go take out a bunch of boards and stuff like that and get some of that leather that I need, and then just get this stuff. So this, for me personally, is my favorite one because it's just a little bit easier for me and my server to gather. If you can't, the other option is going to be the silk gloves, which is right up here. Yes, this is the one. So the other option is going to be the 6 gloves, or the silk gloves. And like I said, it just depends on what's easier for you to gather. So those will be your 2 options. You'll be doing that from 100 all the way up to 150. All right. Now that we've gotten all the way up to 150, it's going to be our last step. This one's going to take a long time, so be prepared. So starting off from 150 all the way up to 200, this is where we're going to go. We have 2 options again. It's going to be either the infused silk gloves. So if you're able to craft that station or use those resources, this is going to be your a really good one. For me personally, since my silk or my weaving station is lower, my personal favorite one to do is going to be the infused leather. And main reason is for me is like I can go and gather these not too hard. I will actually leave a video up above the top of the screen so you can go and see that video where I go to kind of get all this smolder hide. And for me, since I can't, you know, make the higher tier levels of the leather, this is an easier one for me to personally go and get. You know, I got a couple. I was able to get like 4 every 10 minutes or something like that, around that, and it's not too hard. So, you know, you just need to have, you just watch that video and you can see what I did. But that's where I personally went and get, and I am going to do this one because it's easier for me to gather this material instead of going and getting all the other resources to level up the infused silk. So this is the one I personally recommend, but like I said, it just depends on you and your server. You can either do the infused leather or you can do the infused silk. So just depending on what you can do. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the majority of it. It depends on what you can do. I will leave the video at the end after this so you can go and look at the different resources that you need to gather and stuff like that. Definitely go check out that other video if you're trying to figure out how to get the smolder hide and stuff like that. It shouldn't be too long of a video, hopefully. But it's pretty easy to go and gather that, and it's easier for me to go and gather that material. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. It is. Make sure to hit that like button to subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a ton. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace. All right, now I'm going to show you where you can go to gather the different resources that you need, or the main resources you'll need to get to craft a bunch of these different things. So let's start off. We're going to start off with the fiber. My personal favorite place is going to be over here by the Windsward. We come right down here. There's the Hermit Shrine fast travel point right here. I'll leave a picture so you can see kind of the different spawn points for that and where they're going to be, so you can go and gather those resources. Now we're going to go and do our leather. There are 2 different locations. I will show you one of my personal favorite spots. It's over in Monarch's Bluff. If you go over to the right of Monarch's Bluff, you come right down here. There's a little cave system or little thing right here, and a bunch of those, I don't know what they're called. We'll call them cats because that's what it says right here. There's a bunch of them that spawn right here. They are relatively easy to kill, so because they're low level, you can kill them pretty darn quickly, and they spawn really fast. So it's really nice to go and gather those. And they give you a decent amount of leather. It's not a ton, but it's how fast you can kill them and stuff like that's pretty nice. If you don't want to go there and you want to go to a different place, another spot is over down in Cutlass Keys. If you come down here and go over to the fort, up over along the beach, all around here, there are a bunch of alligators and different animals that spawn, so you can get a good chunk of leather. They take a little bit longer to spawn, but you can get a lot of leather from them, so you can go and do that if you don't want to do the other spot. After that, we are going to kind of stay in Cutlass Keys. There's another section that we can go for our iron. Our iron. Anyways, where we're going to go to gather our iron. If we go to the right of the Cutlass Keys place, there's a whole section here. I'll leave a picture so you can kind of see where all the different iron spots spawn. And this is my personal favorite spot to go and get all the iron that I need for all the different crafting and stuff like that. So definitely recommend this spot for sure. After that, now where we're going to go is we're going to go over to Restless Shore. We're going to gather our thick hide. So if we go up from the settlement up here, we go all the way up here. There's a fast travel point, and then we're going to go to Boar's Home. The boars here spawn really quickly. There's a lot of them, and they're pretty darn easy to go and get a bunch of thick hide from them. They drop a lot of thick hide. And so if I want to go get thick hide, this is where I go, because I get a lot of them. They spawn really quickly, and they're not too bad to kill, at least for me. But definitely recommend going here if you're going to go and get that. If you're needing to level up your skinning skill, this is also another pretty solid spot to go and level up that skill. So right here is where I personally recommend. All right, now for our silk threads. If you are wanting to go and gather the silk threads, or silkweed, I think it's what it's called, where I personally recommend it's going to be over here in Brightwood. And I will leave a picture showing you kind of where they spawn. but it's kind of all along the right side of this. There's a decent amount that spawns, and I personally like to go and get those. So this is where I personally recommend going, over in Brightwood. Now, for our wire fiber, this is where we're going to go next. It's going to be up in Eden Grove. If you see the settlements, there's 2 settlements. If you go straight up top, you can come right over here. There's a pretty solid spot. There's a pretty high density of them that spawn. It is a higher level place, but they spawn. There's a lot of them right here, so you can go and get a bunch of wire fiber pretty darn easily. And definitely recommend going here if you're trying to gather that resource. All right, so now for the last thing we're going to go and gather is going to be the iron hide. So if you want to go and get your iron hide, it's a pretty easy spot. We come over here to Great Cleave, and this settlement right here, we just go straight up. And there's a decent spot right here where you can go and gather the iron hide from the animals or the wolves that spawn in this location. So it's not too bad if you want to go and check that out and find that. If you want to go and get the smolder hide, what I personally recommended earlier in the video, I will actually leave a video where you can go and I'll show you exactly where you can go and gather that resource, and it's actually pretty darn easy to get it. I personally have the easiest time getting the smolder hide, and I think it's really easy to go and gather that pretty quickly, as opposed to going to the different locations and trying to craft it, especially if your crafting station is not that high. So I personally recommend the smolder hide, but I'll leave a video for that. But if you want to go and get the iron hide, you can come up here from the Great Cleave. But anyways, yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys. I hope this video helps you out in all these resources, and hope you have a good one. Peace.